Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Chelsea. I am the program manager for the Region 10 Opioid Abatement Council, referred to as Gateway to the Rockies Opioid Council, or GROC. Today is our June Advisory Committee meeting. Let's go ahead and start off with some introductions. If you just want to give us your name and your organization, we'll go ahead and start with Sydney.
Hi, I'm Sydney. I am the rep for Clear Creek School District.
Thank you. Andrea.
Good morning. I am Andrea Turk. I'm the Director of Recovery Services here at Jefferson Center.
Linda.
Hi, good morning. I'm Linda Berger. I am the Executive Director for Just Living Recovery in Lakewood, Sober Living.
Thank you. And Peggy.
I am Peggy Jarrett. I am the Community Health Program Manager at Intermountain Health.
Thank you. So as a reminder, the purpose of the advisory committee meetings is to review upcoming meeting materials, to provide comments and make recommendations on voting items that are carried forward into the executive committee meeting and the full council meeting. So today we're looking over executive committee meeting materials for Monday, June 8th. We have some general updates. This used to be called contracting progress, but I changed it to grantee updates. We'll do some summit planning. We have an advisory committee mid-year check-in. I am requesting a budget revision to the Omni award. The council has requested that we revisit our conflict of interest statement. The Jeffco Public Health has a milestone discussion. This is a really big agenda item. And then we'll talk about the renewal applications that are opening hopefully next Tuesday. So general updates, Jeffco Public Health, we did do an admin correction to their budget amendment. So that is almost done with the signing process. And then as soon as it's completed, we'll have another amendment. Jeffco Sheriff's Office is looking at a June 1st start date. We did have one red line that we went back and forth on, but then they will be starting their award. Mountain News Network had a budget amendment that is actually completely, it's not closed out. That was post their Epic Award. We're in that amendment process right now. They do have it for signing. And then Jefferson Center for Mental Health is still looking at a July 1st contract start date. They have the final red line that should be routing for signatures. Summit planning. So the first round of our, RSVPs closed on Sunday, May 31st, and I have finished sorting them. Actually, let me pause my screen to make sure I don't have any emails showing. Okay. So we are looking at roughly 70 individuals who have RSVP to this. 11 folks have chosen the harm reduction breakout group, 11 in recovery, 13 in treatment, 16 in planning, 19 for prevention. I did create the planning breakout group because we did invite participating local governments. And so I did want to provide space for them to talk about how local government plans fit into the regional strategic plan, their options for pursuing funding outside the general RFA through the cross-regional collaborations mechanisms, and just any other questions they have about the national opioid settlement and strategic planning. Yes.
Chelsea, excuse me, over there, when you say you classify somebody in a certain group, is it because they identified that way, or I was just curious where that came from?
Yes. So there's 2 breakout sessions being planned. And so the first breakout session is by funding area. So that would be prevention, treatment, recovery, harm reduction, or planning. And then the second breakout area is by county. So Gilpin, Clear Creek, or Jefferson. And the groups I'm like making a worksheet where people will look at the current strategic plan and then all of the possible Exhibit E line items for that funding area, and talk about gaps in their communities or programs that might offer services that would be beneficial that we don't know about. So in the RSVP, folks did have to select a breakout area, and then this is what they selected. So some voting members have not RSVP'd, alternates have not RSVP'd, advisory committee has not RSVP'd. There's a lot of you. Some grantees have not RSVP'd. We're missing a lot of participating local government representation. I did send another email out yesterday, just kind of like re-explaining what the regional council is, that they have membership in the regional council, and the benefits of their attendance. And then we have our community members. Some of the bigger organizations, we are struggling with representation, like Colorado School of Public Health, the BHA, Colorado Behavioral Health Clinic. I do think it's important that we continue to reach out to them and try to collaborate. That way we don't create fragmented systems or duplication. Most of the people that requested additional attendees had an additional spot and they weren't using it. They just didn't read the directions in the email very well. So I sent follow-up emails like, hey, you requested an additional spot. You have an unused spot. Do you want it? And most people have gotten back to me and filled that in. The remaining people who did request additional spot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think we can give them an extra spot for sure. It's up to this group. I do want to be a little bit conservative with the second round because some of these groups in the first round, I want to make sure that they have the option to attend. But then are there any additional people we wanted to invite in this second round?
Can you show us or show me the community members or however you called them at the bottom there?
Yes,
Is that how
trying.
you classified them?
Yes, I'm trying to zoom in. Why is this? Is it getting bigger for you guys? Let me stop sharing and see. I don't like Excel. So we have 2 from the Stedman group. Recovery Friendly Leader asked for an additional, there it goes. An additional spot. The Phoenix and Hard Beauty asked for an additional spot. These folks I'm still waiting on. Empower Recovery asked for an additional spot. I don't think U-Turn is going to come, so that is an open spot. ROAC 6 and ROAC 11 asked for an additional spot, and then Nederland Town Manager asked for an additional spot. Nederland is technically part of Region 6, but they have a lot of overlap in services, specifically with Gilpin County. So Commissioner Hollingsworth thought it would be beneficial to invite them. And then we still have some spots. Peggy, yes, the executive committee meeting is an hour and a half, but the advisory committee is only an hour. We do go a little bit faster. So are folks okay with me giving those 9 organizations an additional spot? Okay.
Yes, I'm okay. I'm not
Uh,
a voting member yet, so.
Technically, no one in this group is a voting member. This group
Okay,
just makes recommendations, and we do
okay,
allow the public to attend these meetings and provide comment. They're just not like an official member, so
okay.
they can't apply to be like an application reviewer. That's really the only thing.
I'm in,
And
I'm in
then
support.
thank you. And then I'm gonna call Andrea Turk out. So JCMH did ask for additional representation, but you guys already have 4 people because there's 2 for the grantees. And then so you have 3, 2 for the grantees and then the advisory committee position. So that would be up to this group if they wanted to give you a 4th position.
I see my name because I confirmed, but do we have the other 2? So there's Talia. Was there someone else that agreed to
So
come?
Talia is just my point of contact for
Gotcha.
the JCMH Soteria grant. But Lena and Paula were the RSVPs for the grantee position.
Okay, I see that now. Okay, and so the question is whether or not this group wants to open up a 4th person.
Yes, because JCMH did ask for an additional spot. The whole purpose of the RSVP is for just to kind of regulate engagement so that we don't have overpowering voices. We don't want any type of like lobbying happening or skewing conversations. That's my concern with giving JCMH a 4th position, but ultimately it's up to this group and then the executive committee.
Is there anybody who is asked to come that we've said, well, you have to wait and see if there's space for you?
No, not yet. It's still kind of, I anticipate that happening closer to like August or September.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
it's still a public meeting. So even if they are not formally invited, they can still attend the meeting. We just ask that they do not engage in the breakout sessions. They can sit and observe the breakout sessions. Does this group feel any direction about adding an additional spot for JCMH?
Is this the first year that you've had this meeting?
No, they did it in 2022 and 2024. And there was a please RSVP just for capacity purposes, but that was before opioid settlement funding became more known. So this is the first year that we've transitioned from a summit or from a conference, which is like completely open, to a summit, which is a little bit more regulated and restricted because opioid settlement dollars are becoming more well known. We do want to have, again, like I said, some type of control over objective voices and not having lobbying or dominant personalities directing the conversation in a single direction. Trying to keep it as broad and open objective as possible. So just again, kind of controlling who is on the invite list. We do have a whole policy around this I can send you. It should be posted to our website too. So I'm gonna go with no no comment, no recommendation on whether we give JCMH a fourth position and leave that to the executive committee and full council, because I'm not hearing anything from this group. Okay. Oh, I have to go over the budget. This is definitely where I need folks' opinion. So the budget is not yet set. We will be spending $300 for Red Rocks Community College AV services. The room rental fees are being waived. We were looking into coffee, so let me go back to the agenda. We'll have breakfast and networking for about 45 minutes in the morning. Then we'll have a morning session for about 2.5 hours. We're going to do a recovery story. The State Opioid Council will speak. We're trying to get Phil Weiser as Attorney General to do that. And then I'm going to do kind of like a GROC in review from 2024 to present. Omni is going to do a GROC looking ahead, so talking about data evaluation, and then they will be launching our public evaluation data dashboard. We'll have a lunch and networking portion, and then the afternoon is going to have 2 breakout sessions. Like I said, funding area and service area. I don't have on here a grantee panel. We'll probably put this towards the end of the day. That way we're not sitting for like 4 hours in the morning. But we do want to do a grantee panel that will be facilitated by Omni. So that's the agenda. So we do want to look at like coffee and breakfast stuff for the morning, and then lunch catering for the afternoon. And so I've been prospecting services. Wagon Coffee Roasters is Denver-based, woman-owned. Everyone is in recovery. They hire people in recovery, so it's still connected to the opioid settlement. They quoted us $1,000 for 3 Cambrios of roasters, condiments, cups, creamers, marketing, delivery, setup, and teardown, labor, and on-site. Or if I go pick it up, it would be $500 for 12 Joes to go, which would serve approximately 150 people. Are these, I think the 500 is reasonable. I can go pick it up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
For lunch, I was initially prospecting ODBs, which is owned by a couple in recovery, again, based in Denver. They are part of a state-sponsored program, Recovery Friendly Workplaces. And they partner with Chow, which is a nonprofit for like recovery in food and beverage industry. So they're estimated as like $15 to $17 per sandwich. Jason's Deli is closest to Red Rocks Community College. They catered the event in 2022 and 2024 with a quote of $11 per box lunch. So that comes out to about $16.50. Is there a preference here?
Do you have a new quote from Jason's? Because I know in the last 2 years, prices have really gone up.
They did email me, and this morning I did not look at it. I was hoping that they would honor my historical price.
I'm guessing no.
Let me look at.
I like supporting the recovery businesses. If unless it's so outrageously different, then
It's $12.99 a box for
Okay,
Jason's
so
Deli. So it was plus
$2.
a $13 delivery fee. Oh my gosh, $150 in tax plus $200 gratuity. Oh, but I can waive the tax because we have nonprofit. So we're still
Nonprofit.
looking at a little over $2,000 for Jason's Deli. The problem with ODBs was that they also did not have as many options. So it's probably going to be about $600 more to use ODBs.
Do you know what came in the boxes, like Jason's Deli versus ODB's?
It's just the sandwich. You have to pay extra if you want to do like chips or a cookie. I know in the past they've sent someone to Costco to do like all the drinks like from Costco, so we could do like a chip box from Costco. Jason's Deli comes with the sandwich and the chip, so that is just significantly cheaper. If ODB's was in Region 10, I would probably fight a little bit harder for it being recovery oriented.
But it's in Denver. Yeah.
It's in Denver. It's outside my region, so I just can't justify an extra $600.
Plus,
Yeah,
it'd be
that
more
makes sense.
because of the chips.
Yeah.
Is Biscuits and Berries in Jefferson County?
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Lakewood.
I know they've done, well, I've been to events before where they did the lunch and the breakfast too. But I don't know, I
feel
just
like
thrown out, I don't know if you want to do any more research, but
yeah,
that
I
might be
definitely
another.
can. So I will lean towards, and we're still really early. Like I don't need a decision until like August. But I will look at Biscuits and Berries, and then I will take back to the council the 500 for wagon coffee roasters. Jason Deli's is still the preferred, but I will prospect Biscuits and Berries, and then I'll see if they have any other recommendations. We were initially trying to go with like all recovery oriented places, but that's just looking to be like out of the region and a little too expensive. Last question is I would really like to do like t-shirts or tote bags. I am getting some resistance on this, but the organization that does the printing is in Gilpin County, and it's owned by a couple who are in recovery from opioid use disorder, which I think is completely relevant to both the region and the population we're serving. So they did give me a quote. On shirts and tote bags. So it would be about $7.58 a tote bag. So if we did, I'm just gonna do $8 times the 150. That's like $1,200. And if we did the t-shirts, it would be, I'm just gonna do $10 a shirt. It would be about 1,500.
What pushback are you getting? Like, what's the nature of it?
So t-shirts are on the Opioid Policy Institute's, they call it not allowable. It's really just like a discouraged item. But again, that comes with context. We're not getting from a large corporation. We're getting it from a family in recovery within the region. So the dollars are going back to the region. And she's giving us some discounts because she believes in GROC. I think it's just like, what is that, the optics and public perception? And the people who are expressing concerns, I try to remind them that all of our decisions go through an advisory committee and an executive committee and a full council. So there's several checks and balances before we just decide to buy a t-shirt or tote bags. I think the tote bags are so practical. Like we have the GROC logo on it. People can carry their conference or their summit stuff in it. They can use it to recycle when they get their groceries. And it tells the community like, oh, what is that logo? Let me Google it. I need a recommendation though from this group.
I like tote bags.
I like
I probably wouldn't wear a t-shirt though.
Yeah, I'm not in for the t-shirt, but tote
Okay.
bags would be nice.
Okay. Yay.
I was gonna say I like the t-shirt, but I could totally go with the group. Totally.
Could you do like half and half, and then
I
people can
can.
pick?
I can do half and half. Okay.
So how would that work? Would people have to choose whether or not they wanted a tote bag or a t-shirt? How would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a problem, I guess, for people who took one of each, you know.
No,
Then
it
we'd
would
have a
just be
problem.
one.
Yeah.
They can only take one.
Are you gonna have people pick beforehand? Because then you also have to think about t-shirt sizes. as
Yeah.
well.
That is the problem with the shirts if we do half and half. For the interest of time, I'm gonna go ahead and just take this conversation into the executive committee, and then again, it'll come back here. We have a few months before I need to make final decisions. We do have next agenda item is 2 advisory committee members. This is our mid-year check-in. So we do membership updates. If people are rotating off, if they're switching spots, do we want to add new names? So discretionary, Sydney is going to be swapping out for Sunny. The school district representative is an appointed role by a commissioner. So unfortunately, this group doesn't really have a say here. And then the non-discretionary, we have Peggy Jarrett from Intermountain Health and Dr. Annette Cannon, the coroner from Jeffco, who are applying for positions on the advisory committee. Annette, Dr. Cannon has been on the unofficial advisory committee since the inception of GROC. But somewhere in the transition of me coming on and us formalizing the advisory committee, the steps she needed to take to formalize her role just got lost. And then Peggy is part of Intermountain Health, and she is Amber Qatar's counterpoint. So Amber Qatar is with Common Spirit Hospitals. So with Peggy joining, we would have representation from both hospitals in Region 10. Non-discretionary does need to be nominated by a voting member and then voted on. So is there a recommendation to accept or deny or abstain for either one of these individuals? Peggy is here if you guys have questions for her. Dr. Cannon was going to come and something came up unexpectedly. She's unable to make it.
I'll make a recommendation to approve the nomination of Peggy and Dr. Annette for the advisory committee.
Any counters? Thank you. Next agenda item. So I am requesting anytime there's a line item change in a budget that does have to go to the executive committee. I am requesting this specific line item change for Omni Institute, and I will show you why and what their budget looks like. So at the time of their application, they have specific people tied to their award. And so that was how their budget was created. So each one of these people have an individual line item. But as the project develops and subject matter expertise evolves, they do rotate in different people. They do also have an individual who is going to be going out on maternity leave, and so switching that out. So what I would like to do is I would like to make this just a single blanket personnel line item, and then have it will not exceed a dollar amount, but that allows them to be more flexible in how they switch people out. They do still have to notate who is getting paid where and when. And so in an invoice, it would look something like this, how it says personnel services, and then we open it up and each person has their own line item. And then they do attach like pay stubs for each person. So we would still be able to track who is on the project, exactly what they're doing. We would be able to verify their hours and their dollar amount. And again, the line item itself for the category of personnel services would not be changing. Any questions here?
Totally makes sense what you're proposing.
Thank you. Okay. Any other feedback on this? Is that okay?
Looks good.
Thank you. So the council would like to revisit the conflict of interest statement. The current conflict of interest statement is in the SOP. Let me go ahead and pull that up for folks. It was initially casted very broadly to be a financial interest. And so if you have a financial interest, if you get financial gain from an application, you cannot comment on it. But it might end up being too restrictive. So for example, Jeffco Sheriff's Department applied for an award, and Jeffco Public Health and the Jeffco commissioners were not able to comment on it. Oh my God. My whole screen went black. Am I still here?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Oh, that was so scary. I'm like, my computer.
The screen's blank though. Oh, there, it's
Okay.
coming back now.
It just completely went black. So Jeffco Public Health, there we go. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So like Jeffco Public Health has their own regulatory structure. They have their own separate budget. They don't have, and they're not in any way connected to Jeffco Sheriff's Office, except for the part that they're both in Jefferson County. So that would not be a direct conflict of interest. But how we initially structured the conflict of interest statement and in practice was that they still couldn't comment on each other's applications or their work. So there was a request to go back and review this and talk about it. Also, the other example is like Dr. Ryan does not have a conflict of interest for the CCHAT program, but he does directly oversee the Mountain Youth Network program. So he would have a conflict of interest for Mountain Youth Network, but his budget and his regulatory, his authority is completely different from the Clear Creek co-responder program. So he wouldn't have a conflict of interest there. Is that making sense?
Sort of.
I know it's really confusing. This comes down to an issue for like when we go to talk about the Jeffco Public Health Award and their milestone decision to transition from phase 1 and phase 2. We are allowing we're allowing every voting member to comment on that award, but none of the Jeffco voting members can vote on that award. And so to me, that becomes community-based programming. We're relying on individuals in Clear Creek and Gilpin to direct what services get put into Jefferson County and hoping that they act in alignment with the Jefferson County voting members. Where at the time of applications, we didn't let any of the Jeffco voting members even talk during the Jeffco Public Health Award. And they had valid conversation to contribute and concerns that would advance discussion, but they just were not able to talk. I think the conflict of interest statement might be a little bit too restrictive at this point.
I would agree that it would be appropriate for them to talk and provide information and be a part of the discussion. But where it seems the conflict of interest would happen would be if they're then voting. So if we're removing the voting option, but they can be a resource for information, that sounds appropriate to me.
Does it become a conflict though if you're reviewing proposals and not everyone who submitted a proposal is represented in the conversation before the council? Do you know what I mean? Like
No.
these folks could advocate in a good way. I mean, not necessarily accusing them of bad behavior, but they know they have things to say and can advocate where not everyone is represented. So that seems unbalanced a little bit to me.
Oh, that is a good point.
Yeah, so was someone else going to speak?
I was just saying that's a good point. That does give an advantage to some applicants versus other applicants. Do we address that anywhere?
I guess I'm not really understanding the point. Can we use an example?
Well, so let's say Jefferson Center, I am a part of the committee and I'm given an opportunity to speak on behalf of Jefferson Center, ask questions, but I can't vote. But if there is another agency that isn't a part of this committee or advisory or whatever, whatever
So
they're sitting on, they do they have the same opportunity to provide information?
You would not be able to speak on your own application, no matter what. So if Jeffco Public Health has an application in, Jeffco Public Health cannot talk they can't contribute to conversations. But Jeffco Sheriff's Department can, because they have different regulatory structures. If Jefferson Center puts an application in, Andrea, you can't speak. You can't vote.
So, okay, so maybe I'm missing, what's the question here then? Where's the conflict of interest and where do we want to make a recommended change?
The conflict of interest is really broad. Any Jefferson County voting member cannot speak on a Jefferson County application.
Okay.
Even if they have different budgets, they have different regulatory structures, that is still considered a conflict of interest. So right now for Jeffco Public Health, because that's the application, the award that is bringing all of this up. Jeffco Sheriff, our representative from Jeffco Sheriff, cannot speak or vote on the Jeffco Public Health Award because
Okay.
they are a Jefferson County employee. Even though Jeffco Public Health and Jeffco Sheriff, yes, they're both in Jefferson County, but they report to different people.
Okay.
So same thing with Clear Creek. In Clear Creek County, we have the co-responder program chat and we have Mountain Youth Network. Dr. Ryan has a conflict of interest on both, which is how it's written right now. However, Dr. Ryan doesn't have anything to do with chat. He doesn't have any say in their budget. They don't report to him. He doesn't do any type of conflict resolution with them. So what we're kind of leaning towards recommending between legal and myself is that Dr. Ryan would not have a conflict of interest for the Clear Creek co-responder program, but he does have a conflict of interest on Mountain Youth Network because they report directly to them. He oversees their budget, he signs their contracts. The commissioners, they have a conflict of interest no matter what.
Okay, I see that delineation now. So as long as the person doesn't have really any oversight, financial, ties to that or anything, then that is no longer, that is not considered a conflict of interest.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
what we
that
would
makes sense
like
to me.
to transition to.
Yep. Gotcha.
That's kind of how the Denver ROAC does it, because Denver is a city, a county, and a ROAC. And everyone who's on their voting member, everyone who's a voting member has a conflict of interest somewhere. So
Somewhere.
they have to get really, really specific. Otherwise, no one would be able to vote ever.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Chelsea, took me a minute to get there, but I get it now.
It's taken a long time for Legal and I to like come up with the words of. It was just very broad. Like, nope, you're Jefferson County, and people are like, yes, but like, I don't have any say in their operations. I don't get a financial interest. Like, their budget increase doesn't do anything to me, kind of
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah, that makes total sense now. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Okay. So that does lead us into the Jeffco public health milestone discussion. So there's a long document. This was in your materials packet that I emailed out to you. Please read through it and email me questions, show up to the executive committee meeting, show up to the full council meeting, because this is a lot. So they were initially given a conditional award for 1.5 million over 2 years. They were we kind of broke that award up into 2 phases. Phase 1, a limited amount of funds was released to kind of start at least the Jeffco portion and maintenance expansion of the project while a needs assessment was being done in Gilpin and Clear Creek counties. The needs assessment must be presented to the council, which at time they will decide if this award is going to be a full regional collaborative work, if it's going to be just Jeffco and Clear Creek, just Jeffco and Gilpin collaborating on this. We didn't use the word expansion. They called it like a collaborative partnership in harm reduction. So the needs assessment was done. That was again emailed to you at 65 pages. And then in an effort to be more community-based, we met with the 3 public health directors, Jeffco, Gilpin, and Clear Creek, to talk about the needs assessment, to talk about how that translates into a revised scope of work or a revised budget, and how they would work together. This is really turning into more of a special project than a traditional grant award, which is great in my opinion, because it allows us to work with organizations who are capable of doing the work that achieves the long-term impact the GROC is looking to do. It doesn't restrict us into these narrow lines of checking boxes to get things done. So Gilpin County is recommending forward with moving into a collaboration with Jeffco Public Health to support harm reduction needs in their county, especially working with the casino district. Clear Creek County Public Health is abstaining from a recommendation. They would like this group, the executive committee and full council, to decide on whether they need to collaborate with Jeffco Public Health to expand their harm reduction needs. I'm going to pause and see if there's questions or comments. And you can totally ask what this award is about.
Did Clear Creek say why they were abstaining? I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing yet. That's a thoughtful look.
No, they did not say directly. I have some hypotheses.
Okay.
I'm on a
Please
recorded
share.
line, so I have to be very
Okay.
careful with what I say and how I say it. There is definitely some historical political tension across the 3 public health departments that predates me.
Okay.
And in an effort, this was the first round of grants that I designed and administered. And so I was trying to do something with letters of acknowledgement so that someone didn't just like submit an application that, hey, we want to expand and do work in Clear Creek County. And then the people in Clear Creek are like, what? We've never heard of this organization. Like, how do they know we even want this work in our community? Jeffco Public Health never sought a letter of acknowledgement from Clear Creek or Gilpin County Public Health because they were scared it was going to be create a conflict of interest and be perceived as back channeling. I definitely could have been more clear in supporting how they could navigate that relationship and during the RFA. I don't think there was any ill intent from that, but it did when this application advanced and Clear Creek Public Health harm reduction application did not advance, there was definitely some tension that was created. Yes. What this Jeffco Public Health Harm Reduction Award looks like now is very different than what it looked like at group discussion. I think it has evolved from the needs assessment, considering relationships, in the historical context document that was sent out, I did summarize all of the meeting minutes, all of the meeting recording transcripts, all of the concerns that were expressed from the viewer scorecards, group discussion, the revise and resubmit documents, the revise and resubmit discussion, final discussion, the needs assessment documents, the translation documents, the meetings with the public health directors. I tried to be as thorough as possible. So there is an issue inventory analysis that I did. Again, this is just completely my opinion based on these. It's not quantitative in any way. But I do see this as Clear Creek Public Health and Gilpin Public Health do not have the human capital to expand their harm reduction programs to fit the needs of the county. And so this might not be the best analogy, but it's definitely an oversimplified analogy, is that they would serve as like the bosses to the Jeffco Public Health team, who does have the experience and longstanding reputation of doing harm reduction work in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be providing the human capital to Clear Creek and Gilpin. So it's like there would have to be memorandums of understanding or agreement or letters of support, whatever legal decides is necessary, on how they would collaborate. And again, trying to keep the majority of the decision making with those individual public health directors and communities, people who use drugs in those communities, of shaping when and where they show up, the exact work that they're doing, if it's needle syringe, if it's the not fentanyl test strips, but the FTIR, the laser drug testing, safe drug disposal, things like that. The budget is currently being reviewed by the state because this is a public health department. There are concerns about supplantation. A lot of their budget line items are high risk. So I am asking folks not to dissect the budget right now. Is just think more like conceptually and programmatically until the state has the opportunity to weigh in on the budget. And then Amber Dower, the fiscal contact, and I will work directly with JCPH to modify their budget, and then it would be brought back to the executive committee for final approval once we get that input from the state.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. Is there any recommendation from this group of whether there should be cross-regional collaboration in all the counties, in just 2 counties, in just Jeffco? Do you need more time to look at the needs assessment document that I emailed out? And you can provide a recommendation on June 8th or via email.
I need a little more time. I mean, I think
I do too.
that the 2 smaller counties, because they probably haven't had a lot of work with that, would really benefit from Jefferson County's experience. So I need to kind of find out why they're thinking that, that maybe that's not a good plan. I don't know.
It does feel like community placed. Like it does feel like the bigger county has to go in to support the smaller county, that they're not capable of doing on their own. There's definitely that feeling. I take responsibility that I did not do a good enough job in the RFA to prevent that from happening. I think I have taken great care in adjusting course with the 2-phase RFA that's coming up. So we won't do letters of acknowledgement. It'll be that letter of intent. So everyone sees who wants to do a project in their area. They say yes, no, conflict of interest. And that's kind of like the heads up. And so I think I've taken care to make sure that these feelings don't happen in the future. I do take some responsibility for that. I
mean, it's legitimate, that Jeffco has such a larger population that it only makes sense that they would have, more experience, and, more ability to do that. So it's sad that they would take, kind of offense of that.
It happens.
Yeah.
I get it. I fully get it. I think there has been a lot of work to try to correct that. Again, that's not the intent, but I mean,
Right.
once that feeling is there, it's hard to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I will just say that Grace needs more time to digest information. You guys can circle back with me at the executive committee meeting or at the full council meeting or via email before those dates, and whatever you email me will get shared out during this discussion. I think that is renewal applications. I did make some minor changes to the application based on the user testing we did back in March. So legal just wants me to review that with everyone, but we do have 2 groups who are going to be doing their renewals between June 9th and July 31st, Advocates for Recovery and Denver Recovery Group. They will serve as our user testing for the renewal application. Most of what I did is just added, like I put text box will populate for disclosure statement because it wasn't clear what a yes meant and what a no meant, or I added no, nothing to disclose for the legal statement. So I never fundamentally changed the application. I just added in more of those like directional feedback question prompts. And then same thing with capital project. I explained here, a proposal may include capital, however, it should be classified as a capital project only if implementation of the project is primarily dependent on that capital investment. If the project can be implemented without the capital component, it should not be categorized as a capital project. Capital projects may be grouped with and evaluated against other capital projects instead of their primary funding area. That is because I'm not convinced that this is the best method for capital. I think every capital project has unique questions and we should be able to pull those out and ask individualized questions on that project to be satisfied before making a long-term investment. I added these little prompts, relevance to the region, describe the continued relevance to the region, how has it responded to regional needs during the funding period, any changes in regional context, and why continued funding is warranted at this time. The council is not convinced that they want to be legacy funders, that they rather be seed grant funders. So again, why is continued funding warranted at this time? I did not change anything in the target population. The requested award period and requested end date is these awards start and end at different times, and I'm trying to transition everything to the calendar year. So I think like one of those awards, their 1 year is 15 months, and then so their 2 year would be like 26 months. So they have a start and end date. I am prescribing them what they need to put in there if they want a 1 year or a 2 year award. That way, again, I can transition all the awards to the calendar year. Financial sustainability, I added more just clarifying context of what they should put for their financial sustainability plan. And then we did remove the budget that they input into a UNA, and we are just using the Excel template. And if it's approved, I will manually put their budget, build their budget in a UNA for them. Is that approved? I know I'm at time.
Looks good.
Okay, next thing is I did not put that in here. That was like a separate, I added a discouraged item list or like a not allowed list. It's allowed, but it's allowed contextually. So these are what Amber and I have deemed high risk items for supplantation or duplication. And so it's not necessarily that they're not allowed, but if you have that line item, we are going to ask for a significant amount of more documentation to make sure that it's not supplantation and it's not duplication. So we have a list, and that was just, does the committee support that list? Do they still just want it to be like a free range? And almost everything on the list was pulled from the Opioid Policy Institute or line items that have historically been a problem in the current awards that required more justification. So like external evaluation teams for $50,000. Now that we have Omni, that's duplicative. Senior leadership, that's more than 0.25 FTE. That could be considered supplantation because senior leadership is an operational cost. Things like, what else was on there? I know I'm at time, so if you have to go, I understand. I'm sorry. I can pull up that document. Thank you, Andrea. Have a good day. What did I do with that document? While I'm looking for this, are there any questions? There it is.
Nope, not for me. I'm just curious what else is on that list, if you find it.
I got it. Again, so this is like, it's discouraged. It's not that it's not allowed. It's just, if you have one of these line items, we're probably going to ask for more documentation from you. External evaluation services, limited support for grant management and coordination is definitely allowable, like up to a half FTE, but we should not be paying $50,000 for either one of these things. Radios, communications hardware. I do have a disclaimer that if this is a seed grant, like with the Lakewood Co-Responder and Clear Creek Co-Responder or Wheat Ridge Co-Responder program, that would definitely be justifiable. Uniforms or standard department equipment not directly tied to remediation activities, senior leadership, general organizational insurance coverage, because again, this is considered general operational cost. So that's high risk of supplantation. Mileage reimbursement, if we buy the vehicle, to me, that's duplicative. Duplicate recovery of facility or rent costs through both direct charges and indirect cost rates. Again, not allowable, but you have to have a lot of supporting documentation for your indirect and if you create rent as a line item. General agency operational expenses not directly tied to opioid remediation activities, existing baseline government operating costs that would otherwise be funded through standard departmental budgets. This is like the big issue with the public health award right now that we are exploring. Capital or equipment purchases without a clearly demonstrated remediation benefit, costs already reimbursed through other funding source or grant, agency-wide infrastructure expenses like IT surveillance systems, administrative software without substantial project specific justification. Vehicle facility equipment costs that do not clearly distinguish between actual, allocated, or reimbursement methodologies. And then again, I have all these disclaimers. Capital cannot be counted towards your 10% indirect overhead line item. You have to pull that out. Applicants should reference the plantation is not an approved purpose document, and exceptions remain for applications pursuing seed grant infrastructure. This should be clearly articulated in the financial sustainability plan portion of the application. So again, pretty general, got it from the Opioid Policy Institute. I'm down to 2.
Okay, see y'all later.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.